welcome to the Let's Talk BS podcast. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Sofia, and we're coming to you live from the
757.
Good morning, Bryan.
Good morning. Good morning, Sophia. How you doing?
I'm good. It's been a minute.
It has. It has. It's funny, like, we were getting prepared, man. It felt like it's been a while.
It has.
I don't know. It felt like it was from the beginning all over again. Like, it felt like it's been a while, more than what it's really been. So I'm glad we're back here recording on a Good Friday,
Friday.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on.
Yes, it has. The weather has gotten better. That's one.
Yeah, it is.
It's almost summertime.
Yeah.
Summertime. I can't sing, but.
Nah, I hear you. Yeah, I like this time of the year, man. Now it's like that perfect time because like the pollen has kind of like subsided, I would say, and it's not like too excruciating hot yet. So, but it's pretty warm. Like, I think today is going to get pretty warm. I think it's going to be like in the mid 80s today. So it's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this time of the year, man.
Yeah.
It's a good time of the year.
Yeah. So these past, 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Last week we were supposed to record, but I had a flat tire in the morning, which was unexpected. So that kind of just derailed those plans that morning. There was a nail in my tire, so.
Yeah, that happened to me too, man. You know, I got a new vehicle about 2 months ago now, and literally I think it was the second week I had it. I started to see that my tire pressure was low, and so I ended up finding out that I took it to the dealership, and they saw that I had a nail kind of lodged into it.
That happened to me when I first bought my not the car that I have, but the one before that.
Okay.
I drove off the lot, and like two days after I had a flat tire.
It's crazy.
And so the car was the body style, the car, everything was brand new.
Yeah.
And so they had not like gotten in like the parts to replace anything. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, oh, we could put a new tire on, because I always buy a tire protection. They were like, but it's not going to be the same one. I was like, bullshit. You better go get one of those tires off those ones sitting on the lot and make my tires match. And so that's what they ended up doing.
They did that?
Yeah.
They did that for real? Okay.
They went and got a tire off of one of the cars that was in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. And it's because it was in Miami, so all of the cars were in a parking garage, essentially. There's the lots are different. Here you have like a real parking lot, but there it's like a parking garage. And then the cars are typically on the higher level of the parking garage, and then the rest of it is kind of open for the public for whatever is going on in the area. But yeah, I was like, nobody sees the car. Like, just go put a new tire on there from one of those parked cars back there.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So outside of that, school volleyball has ended. Now we're into I don't know if it's considered AAU, but it's TVA. TVA. Tidewater Volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a spring clinic, so those practices, man, they go late. We're there till a little after 9, 3 days a week. Yeah, it's crazy.
And so this was so her season ended, and now this is, like you said, something separate from that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Started, Monday?
Okay.
So it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tonight we got back-to-back tournaments on Friday nights. So.
Okay.
But the gym where it's at is pretty cool, because they have
Where's
one
it at?
side. It's at the oceanfront.
The oceanfront. Okay. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. That's the newer. It's a newer spot they got down there. I forget the name of it.
It's on 19th Street.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I went to see my old high school. One of my buddies, he coaches our old high school basketball team, and so they had it's called Summer League. They had Summer League up there.
Yeah, so one side is basketball and one side is of it's
volleyball. Okay,
yeah.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that's a nice little place. I remember I had took Niall with me. We went and watched the game. All he was enamored was with the snacks. You know, they had like a nice little concession area where it's like you got people cooking, real food, and then they had like, I know it was like a little convenient kind of store thing where they had like chips and Gatorades and stuff like that right there. So we had went there during halftime of the game and got some snacks. So
yeah. So started that. That has me tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then Jada's still in soccer. Thank God that ends in like 2 weeks. Yeah. I don't even know if I'm gonna put Carter in anything until after that's done.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. I know you said Jada, she's at the Y too, right? Yeah, the Y. So I know now my son, he has his last 2 games. We're gonna be we're not gonna make the last game, but this weekend is gonna end up being his last game. So he's very excited about that. He told me he was gonna try to win Player of the Week again because he won Player of the Week like a couple weeks ago. He did very well. He had scored, I think, just 1 goal, but he had was very aggressive. You know, got a couple assists and things of that nature, and so they gave him Player of the Week. So, but yeah, that's cool. That's cool. What else you been going? What's up? What else has been going on?
Shoot, I had a short-term rental seminar. Okay. Mastermind, I guess was what they called it, with a couple agents and a property manager a couple Fridays ago. Okay. It was actually the weekend of Something in the Water.
Yeah.
So that went well. Shoot, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I've just been busy with volleyball, late nights. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not there yet. I know
it's coming.
I know my kids.
And you got 2 that's back to back, so it can't even be spreaded out. Y'all gonna have to divide and conquer, especially if both of them are heavy in sports and they're good at the sport.
Yeah.
Because what I've noticed is, the better the kid is, the later the practice. So typically, when you're a beginner, they practice a little bit after school, so 5-ish. And then intermediate practices about 6, 7-ish. Mm-hmm. And then advanced doesn't practice until 7:30, 8. And so that's the reason why we're always out so late, because she's on the advanced teams.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I'm normally, we have a pretty tight routine around our house, man. We're normally kids bathe and relaxing by 7:30, I would say.
I used to live that life about 4 years ago.
So I already know, it's coming up for us, man. But that's good. That's good.
Once your kid enters middle school, that's when it kind of
really takes off.
Really takes off. Yeah.
Unless
you have a prodigy early on, but I mean, those are far and few.
Yeah, I remember those days, man. It's funny how it comes it's a full circle moment, because I remember growing up, just playing sports and then, having practices all the time, and my dad being gone a lot of times, and my mom having to take me to all these different practices, and then having my sister, we're 8 years apart, so, she would have to, carry her around, little baby, and I'm at practice and stuff like that. So I remember that, and it was funny because that's what led me to be able to drive pretty early, because for my my age, my birthday's in December, and so I was technically able to get my license once I was 16 and 3 months. And so I remember getting my license halfway through my sophomore year, and my mom allowed me to drive to school early, because she used to just didn't not wanting to have to pick me up from practice and taking me and doing all these things. So she was like, look, you need to learn how to drive soon so you can start doing things yourself. I was like, I hear you. So I remember that, man. But cool. I'm there. Yeah, so you're almost there.
About a year and a half, she'll be driving.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so that'll be a load off of you.
What?
Yeah.
She'll be going to practice on her own. Yes, I'm excited.
I hear you, man. Yeah, but I heard you mention, obviously, Something in the Water. That happened, about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago now. So that was dope. I had Brooke and I went out there. That was the same weekend as our anniversary. So we kind of, I won't say celebrated our anniversary with that, but we already had kind of built-in babysitters for that weekend. So we went out there and had a really good time. Was able to connect with some folks I hadn't seen in a while. Got to see, some, just good music I grew up on. I seen Lil Wayne and Pharrell, Diddy, Busta Rhymes, Chris Brown. There was some good people, good acts or whatever. So it was good. Brooke and I had a really, really good time as well. What else happened? I remember Cinco de Mayo was recent. It's funny, we have a little thing where we always just, order Mexican food on Cinco de Mayo. A couple of times we used to drink tequila. I don't really drink tequila, but we used to get a bottle of, or a shot or something, tequila, or have a margarita or something like that, but we didn't do that this year. What else? Recently we've been going to the farmers market a lot. We used to do that a lot prior to COVID. Is on Saturdays after my son's games, because his games have typically been around 9 o'clock, so they're pretty early. So after that, we'll go to check out farmer's market. We'll get like some fresh produce from there, some meats, things of that nature. So I had gotten some food from there last week, and we had some oysters as well, I think the week before. So it was good. It was good. We love supporting local businesses and, just shopping local as a general. It was had a bad experience, man. I ain't gonna mention the restaurant, man, but we had it was last weekend. We went to my son's game, then we went to the farmer's market, and then we were actually getting ready to go to the zoo right after that, right? So we had a pretty busy Saturday, and we were wanting to get something to eat real quick, grabbing some lunch real quick before we went to the zoo. So we went to this restaurant in Norfolk. It was around like 11:30, 11:45, right before noon, and we sat there, man, and it wasn't packed. I mean, it was plenty of tables that were empty, but it was a good amount of folks in there. It was right before you could tell it started to kind of get busy. But when we sat there, man, and ordered some basic stuff, we ordered some chicken tenders. I think it was like a club sandwich and some onion rings, just for all of us to kind of eat and share. Me, Brooke, and the kids. And man, they took forever to bring the food out. We sat there, the lady kept checking on us. I kept watching the people from the kitchen like bring out food. I could have sworn a couple of times I seen our food right there on the table and the waitress bring it out to somebody else. And I'm just sitting there. I was so mad, man. We waited there literally for like 40 minutes, and then we just got up and left. I've never done that before. Like, have you ever done that before? Like, we sat there. Brooke and I was talking. We was like, look, the kids start going crazy. They was hungry. So I'm like, look, man, let's just go somewhere else. And then we just like got up and left.
There's no like
didn't say nothing to the waitress, like, hey, we're gone. Like, we just got up and walked out.
Yeah, when I was younger, not with the kids. No, probably when I was younger.
Okay.
I probably did, but not actively with my kids with me. No.
Yeah. We were just so frustrated, man. Like, I seen people come in after like 15, 20 minutes after us, get seated, get food, and then leave, and our food still didn't come. You know what I mean? Like, that joint just pissed me to crap. That pissed me off. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, we just ended up leaving, man. We actually ended up eating lunch at Cork and Bull. I know we've mentioned that place a couple of times. So we ended up grabbing lunch there.
How was it with the kids in there?
It was cool because it was empty. It was literally nobody. There was this group of girls that were having like a birthday party, it looked like, or some type of gathering. I couldn't tell if it was a birthday or not, but it was like 10 or 12 of them. So they all had one table to themselves, and then we sat over like on the front side, like where the bar side is. And we just, it was us, and it was actually another family that was in there as well that had young kids too. So it was kind of like, I guess, now that was the only people that was in the restaurant. And so we had I had a burger from there. Me and my son had a burger from there. It was really good. Like it was really, I normally don't order burgers out at restaurants, but their lunch menu, it was okay. Their lunch menu didn't have a lot of things on there that I particularly liked from there. So I was like, and I was really, really hungry, like I said, because at this time it was like 1:30 since when we had left the other place. So I got a burger from there, and it was really, really good. It was really good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sounds like you had an eventful 2 weeks.
Yeah, I did, man. I got also want to shout out Lakeisha. I got a friend of mine. I would call her a friend. I met her a while ago, probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 years ago. Through a mutual friend. And so, we just kind of connected, admire each other's paths from afar. You know how you do on social media. She'll send, me message, congratulating me on certain things that I posted, and, vice versa, same for her and her family. And so I'm actually helping her right now buy a new construction home in Suffolk, a beautiful home, a beautiful home. And so I'm excited for them. They're closing actually in early June. And then she actually linked me, because she's in the HR field. She linked me to one of her, I think, old co-workers, and they're buying a home in this neighborhood that I actually wanted to move into about 4 or 5 years ago, called Edinburgh Meadows. And then those homes are big, huge, beautiful brick homes going for well over $1 million. And I'm helping her friend now buy this home. They're actually closing in July. So
congratulations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out because, referrals are something that really is something that drives my business. And I definitely want to, make sure that she understands that and let folks know that we appreciate all your referrals, So if you got somebody that's looking to, buy real estate, they should definitely holler at me or Sophia for sure.
Most definitely. Definitely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I need $1 million deal. I haven't had one since I've worked here, actually. Okay. I used to get them when I was at my previous company, but I haven't gotten them as much now lately.
Yeah, I haven't gotten very many either at Atlantic Bay. I mean, most of the time, like I think we've talked about it before. You know, most of the time we deal with like first-time home buyers. You know, maybe your move-up buyer here or there, but you know, we deal with, I guess I would say, your everyday folks. You know, so yeah. But $1 million deals are good though. Definitely good. Yeah.
They are. Yeah. All right, guys. So you heard about our last 2 weeks. So now it's time to exercise your knowledge. So during this segment, we're going to ask you a mortgage-related question, and we're going to allow you to answer the question in your head, and then we will reveal the answer later on in the segment. So today's exercise your knowledge question is, when is the best time to shop rates? I've had this come up here lately in the past couple weeks because of the rate environment that we're in. So I just wanted to see if you guys knew the answer to that question, and if you do, hold on to it because we will reveal it later on in the segment.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I've actually had that come up myself recently too. I mean, it comes up all the time, but I would say more so recently. Yeah, more so recently. I would definitely say that. So that's something that's definitely good to be able to let folks know kind of how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
And speaking of shopping rates, right? So our topic for today is, what's the difference between working with a mortgage company and a bank? So we wanted to kind of go through some of those differences so you knew before you started shopping, and kind of give you some background information as to what to look for when you're shopping the two. Yeah.
I think it's a good topic. I know I get that question actually sometimes too. I have been able to work both sides of the equation when it comes to that. So I've worked for 2 banks over my time, and now the mortgage company I'm at Atlantic Bay Mortgage, this is my second mortgage company. So I've worked for 2 banks and 2 different mortgage companies, and there are a very big difference in both of them, how things are done. I would say the first thing that I noticed is the banking world feels just very more like corporate, right? It's very traditional. There's a lot more red tape when it comes to just like having to accomplish things. Because I'm a very, I wouldn't say creative person, but I have a lot of ideas of like events and things I want to do. I'm a very people person, networking, relational type of person. And I know at my time at working at the banks, when I tried to do certain things that were, along the lines of just, getting folks together, networking, sharing information, sharing topics, sharing ideas, business practices, whatever it may be. A lot of times it was so much that had to go on for us just to do something that was very, very simple.
Correct.
And by the time it got to the point of trying to execute, a lot of times, when you have an idea, it's something that, needs to be done, relatively quickly within a certain amount of time. But,
correct,
if it takes months upon months just to get something approved, and so the person who's reviewing is kind of out of touch with what's really going on, because they're so worried about compliance and this and that, which I understand. You got to definitely make sure you're compliant, but it's I don't know. It just kind of seems like
levels to it. Yeah. So basically, they overdo it with the compliance rules, and
correct.
In the mortgage industry, there's a lot of gray area. So people err on the side of caution sometimes because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to be called into the office per se.
Correct. Yeah.
About something that they weren't intentionally trying to do. So there is a lot of red tape. There is a lot of caution when it comes to the banking side, for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was very frustrating because I feel like I had a lot of ideas, a lot of things that could have, helped me grow my business, I would say, and then honestly just help educate, prospective buyers or even real estate agents or realtors that we work hand in hand with. And I could never really do those things because of, working for a bank. It would always get it would get declined for me to try to do these sorts of things. And, I was like, man, I wish I had a little bit more flexibility in what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Speaking of flexibility, that's the second thing. Flexibility, that's another thing, right? So there were a lot more flexibility in just the hours, right? Now, when I worked for a bank, the way we got paid was, we got paid an hourly base. That's my phone, my bad. Yeah, we got paid an hourly base. And then based on how much we sold as far as mortgages, we also got paid a commission. Now, working at a mortgage company, at least the 2 mortgage companies I've been at, we're just straight commission, right? So depending upon what they say, you hunt, you don't eat what you don't hunt, right? So, if we don't close or how many deals we close that particular month, that's how much we get paid. Versus a bank, because you get the influx of people coming into the bank, maybe, doing
through different channels. Online.
Yeah, online, checking and savings, credit cards. Like there's people that's constantly coming to the bank maybe for other reasons, or maybe they have their checking and savings account. So when it comes to, thinking about applying for a mortgage, they're going to start there, right? So, the way the pay setup is like, hey, we're already having folks and leads come into you. You just have to basically almost finish it out and take the application, right? So that was the way the pay structure was, So it's like, to me, it was a good starting point, but once you actually start to grow your book of business and you start to have business come to you that has nothing to do with the actual bank itself, it would probably be better to go and work for a mortgage company because you're able to make more money based on what you're actually producing, what you're bringing in. What about you? I know you've worked for banks, and you've also now worked for a mortgage company. So what are some major differences that you see?
So what I see is that when you are working with the bank, you're a number. So they don't really care about your situation and what you have going on. It's kind of like you're on their time. So you got that a lot because some of these workers or mortgage bankers or loan officers, whatever you want to call them, they're overworked and underpaid, right? And so they don't really care to get your file to closing because they're getting paid regardless, right? They're on salary. They know that it's always more business.
And when you say
coming.
they, who are you talking about they? You're talking about just the bank itself?
The bank itself, the person itself, it doesn't matter. I mean, they can be very fluid.
Yeah.
But when you have over 100 people that's looking to shop and buy, I mean, you actually start to become a number. Nobody really cares. They're just like, look, did you get the documents to me? Okay, not next. Let me go to somebody else who did. You know what I mean? As opposed to really like walking through, getting to know you, understanding your situation, really listening to your needs and things like that, right? But when you work for a mortgage company, that person tends to have more one-on-one. I know about my clients' kids, why they're moving, when they're moving, what's going on in between them. I have time to actually nurture, get to know them. And it's a one-on-one relationship. They don't ever feel like, they're just being passed along to whoever can pick up the file.
Yeah.
And
more of a personal touch for sure.
Definitely more of a personal touch. And then as far as like the processing, the things that the client doesn't see, it may be 10 plus people who touches their file. And everybody has a different perspective on how it should get to closing, right? But overall, at the mortgage side, at the mortgage company level, me as a mortgage banker, I have my own team. So the same people touch the file every single time.
Yeah.
So there's no question. I know how my underwriter underwrites. I know how my processor works. I can call them at any time. I know my closer, my assistant. We're all one team. It never changes. And so just having that type of dynamic, it makes a huge difference when you are in process of buying a home, especially when, it's a situation where you have to sell a home to buy a home. And then now the person that you're buying a home from is having to sell that home to buy another home. And it can just get crazy when you're dealing with a bank.
Yeah, and I find that people that, and again, this is just I've been doing this for 15 years, so I got some experience in it, but I just find that people that work at a mortgage company, they just take it more seriously. That's kind of, along the lines of what you were saying, versus when you're at a bank, that nothing against a bank, but when you're working as a mortgage professional at a bank, a lot of things are just given to you versus when you're at a mortgage company, you have to kind of go and get it, right? So the education, making sure you understand certain things, like all of those things are things that you have to really educate yourself to make sure that you're doing it correctly. Because at the end of the day, at a mortgage company, that's all we do. We do mortgages. We don't do anything else. We don't give loans for cars. We don't give credit cards. We don't have checking and savings accounts. We don't give you financing for student loans. Like, we don't do none of that stuff. We just focus on mortgage.
We specialize in one thing.
Yeah, we specialize in one thing. So the attention, the focus, all of that's going to be there. So, I think that that's something that is very prominent, just knowing that, hey, when you're working with someone like us or someone that works at a mortgage company, we have an expertise in this because that's all we do. We don't have different hats that we put on depending upon who we're sitting in front of or who we're having a conversation with. And then also I'll bring up, just the guidelines, right? So when it comes to overlays, I remember I just experienced this a lot when I worked at my two previous banks. Airing back on, or kind of piggybacking off of what we just said earlier when it comes to risk, right? Because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're always measuring risk when we're lending money, right? So that's why we look at someone's credit to see where the credit score is, look at their debt to income. Like, all that stuff is kind of gauging on how worthy that person is on how they're going to pay us back, right? So when it comes to the banking world, a lot of times they are a little bit more cautious when it comes to the lending aspect, right? So they'll have extra things. Let's say that, the guidelines, because we're basing most of our guidelines off of what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac say, right? So if there's a certain credit requirement, a certain debt to income requirement, a certain whatever they say, for the most part, that's what we're basing everything off of. Correct. So I remember when I would work at a previous bank, they would say, hey, for this particular loan, you have to have, let's say an FHA loan, they would say you have to have a 640 credit score, when truly
FHA allows
580, right? So there was a lot of business that, again, I didn't even know this at the particular time, but there was a lot of business that I wasn't getting and I was losing out that I could have been getting just because the bank that I work at, we call them overlays, they have a higher standard of what they want in a buyer or what they'll approve for a buyer. And so I get it. I understand it. But, me being a mortgage professional, that just kind of cut my legs out in front of me, because if there's a certain type of business that I'm not able to get, then there's people that I'm working with that have that type of business that they're sending that to somebody else. So when they get those people who do qualify or above 640 that I could potentially do, they wouldn't send it to me because there's somebody else that can do the other things that I couldn't do. Yeah. So that's something that, I honestly, it was crazy. It's like what they say, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I didn't even know that was going on until I came over to another mortgage company and left the banking world and was seeing like, hey, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. I mean, it was a really eye-opening experience. And it really helped me because a lot of the buyers that I deal with are people that have a little, credit challenge, right? People that, their situation maybe not necessarily, just perfect, right? They may have a 615 or 600 credit score or a 590 credit score because they had some extenuating circumstances or something that came up or whatnot, but they're still a good buyer, right?
And so everybody needs a place to live.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So, especially when FHA implemented the rule of us being able to verify like rental history and use that as a positive factor, because
correct.
When you're buying a house, I mean, we want to see your ability to repay, right? So if we can see that you pay your rent on time, most likely you're going to pay your mortgage on time, unless there's something unforeseen that happens that doesn't allow you to.
Yep.
But everybody has to have a place to live. So just having someone to back you and to have your back on that type of stuff, it definitely helps, because you go to your big bank, they're going to say no. They're not going to make an exception for you. If your credit doesn't meet the criteria, you don't even make it to the next step. The system will automatically deny you. It doesn't even get to a live person.
Correct.
It's kind of like if you guys, if you've ever applied for a job on USA.gov.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
I have, actually, yeah.
So most professionals have, right? Before your application has to have trigger words. It has to have all these different things before it even makes it to a live person. So same thing with these applications. If your credit score doesn't meet the minimum, it doesn't even go anywhere. Automatic denial, on to the next one. At least with us, we're still able to see the application. We see your score. We get to have
we can
candid
educate,
conversation, educate, everything.
Yeah, because I mean that's what we do with our clients. I know I wasn't doing that at the bank, like you said. I mean, it was just the next person. Somebody applies. If you don't meet the criteria that the bank says that you have to have for you to qualify, it's sorry, decline. Sorry, decline. What's the next one?
Sorry about that.
As a mortgage professional at a mortgage company, I mean, we have credit repair folks that we work with that we can help you, that we can refer you out to help you with your credit. We have credit rescore that we do, which is a big thing where if someone comes to us and let's say they're not quite there, they're really, really close, we can give them exactly black and white what they need to do to then qualify. So sometimes, and I know how it is, a lot of times people will come to us and let's say, we can't qualify them right then and there. It's kind of a demoralizing feeling, So there are a lot of times they're like, oh man, they already kind of thought about the house that they want, all of that. All that stuff has already been, it was written, as they say. It was already something that they had already imagined, and then we're the ones that's having to give them that news like, hey, well, right now that can't happen. And so we are able to give them, exactly what they need to do. And a lot of times that's all people need to know is really what they need to do. Because a lot of times people are just blindly paying things and not necessarily knowing and hoping that each month their score is going to increase by whatever it is. But we're able to say, okay, hey, if you pay X amount of dollars on this credit card and X amount of dollars on this loan, then your score is going to go up to this score, and that's what we need, and then this is what we can qualify you for.
So let me give you a real life situation that happened just recently on a loan that I closed in March, I think.
Okay.
So this particular woman came to me with a low credit score and pulled credit. She wasn't too low. She was just right underneath where she needed to be. And so I was able to do a rescore for her. Mm-hmm. We got her credit scores above the minimum requirement, which was great, right? So then me and her started to have a conversation about what she could qualify for. I gave her step by step, like, look, this is what you need. These are the requirements. So she took it. She said, okay. Now, her income just so happened to be a little on the high side. And VHDA has this rule that if you purchase in an economic opportunity area, they'll actually relax the income guideline a little bit. And so when I told her that, she said, okay, I'm going to only look in these areas because this is going to help me. I need down payment assistance, right? So in the meantime, I was just educating her on like, look, you're not going to be a renter anymore. You're going to be responsible for, making repairs on the house. Something goes out, whether it's a light bulb, a filter, or anything that's wrong with the house, that's going to be on you. So you need to be in save mode. Like, she was like, okay. She was like, she called me Miss Sophia. She was like, I'm going to eat ramen noodles every single day. She was joking, obviously, but she just, started to really take accountability for what her next steps were. So she started bringing lunches to work. She told me, she was like, I packed my lunch. Instead of going out to eat, she was like, I packed my lunch. She said, she did a whole bunch of stuff to kind of save, right? Mm-hmm. So closing day came. I think she may have came to closing because she got closing cost assistance with maybe $800, I want to say, right? But she had reserves because I taught her about how to save, have reserves for those hard times, right? Mm-hmm. So I called to follow up with her probably about a month after she closed, and we were talking, and she was like, Miss Sophia, I'm so glad that, you taught me how to save. She said, because something happened in the house. I think it was like something on the water heater. It was like a switch was corroded, and she had to get it changed out. And she was like, it cost me like $800 for them to come out and fix it. She was like, but I had the money. She was like, I didn't even have to stress about it. She was just like, I had the money in my savings account because you taught me how to save. Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And so she was like, I have this girl. She was like, I want to refer her to you, but she was like, she's not taking the necessary steps, so she's just not ready to buy. I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, if you're serious about, what you want to do, that's where we come in and we educate you to help you. And I don't think that there's people there may be some. Let me not, knock out everybody. But there are some really good
but it's just the mindset. It's the
mindset of how we do things every day.
Yeah, it's just
we
different.
Don't do that with just one person here and there. It's pretty much with everybody who's willing to take the information and really like hold on to it.
Correct.
And implement these things into their lives.
Correct. So, yeah.
But that was definitely a success story that just happened like not too long ago. So
that's good, man. I'm glad. I love hearing stuff like that, those success stories, man, because you're really changing people's lives. Like, I mean, people have a certain way about doing things. A lot of times people were never taught how to do things, so they're just reactionary. They're just doing what they know. They know that, hey, I got to work and I got to pay bills. So they don't know how to position themselves to continue to grow.
They got to rob Peter to pay Paul. Rob Peter to pay Paul. People live like that.
Yeah. So, like you said, being able to, in a situation where something comes up that you're not, that you didn't know was going to happen, you're prepared. I mean, that's honestly, one of the key things I would say that I've heard in most people that are successful and that are able to, continue to grow and go to the next level is that they're prepared. I mean, preparation. You got to be prepared for all types of things like that to happen, So it's really about a mindset to have yourself in a position where if something were to come up that you're not, thinking about, you're prepared to take care of it and continue to move forward.
But that doesn't mean live life in caution. But
no. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I feel like we talked about like all the bad stuff, right? Now, some of the positive things is that when you work for a bank, sorry, rewind. When you do use a bank for your financing, sometimes they typically will offer you a little bit of a lower rate. Yeah. It's not going to be like a 3% versus a 6%, but it will be slightly lower than your mortgage companies. And that's because they have they have a wide variety of different products to where in deposits that they receive, that they have the ability to be a little bit lower with their rates. But then in return, we have a wide variety of products that we can offer.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, yes, our rates may be a little higher, but not in every case, because it's been plenty of times where our rates beat out a bank.
Yeah.
It just really depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. I mean, it's situational, but I agree with you 100%. That is something that's a big a difference, is that rates at a bank sometimes will be a little bit better than it is just historically overall than a mortgage company. But, obviously sometimes that might not be the best, because I know depending upon, for me anyway, I don't mind paying, and we're talking about, a couple dollars here or there. We're not talking about anything of significance where it's going to be like, oh my gosh. But, just like people, when you're deciding to go to Chick-fil-A, or you're deciding to go here, or you're trying to decide to go to Starbucks, get coffee, or you're deciding to go to here, you'll pay for something that's better. That's worth it. Exactly. And that's essentially what it is when it comes to working with someone at a mortgage company versus, you trying to, if you have a question or something you want to be answered on a Friday night or Thursday evening or on a Saturday, a lot of times people that work at the bank, we call it banker hours. If you're not reaching out to them between 9 and 5, you may not get that question answered. And if you're working from 9 to 5, well, you can't, reach out and talk to someone or whatnot, and the only times you can really speak to someone is on the weekend or after hours. And a lot of times that communication, that process is going to feel like an uphill battle, But dealing with someone working with someone that works at a mortgage company, I mean, you have accessibility to us, via phone. I mean, you could text, call. I mean, those are things you really just don't do when you're working with someone at the bank.
Yeah. I just had a closing on Wednesday. It was a closing in California. Obviously, we're in a time difference, so she called me during the day there, but the 3-hour difference, it was 6-7 o'clock in the evening here, and it was a mobile notary situation, and she called. Everybody else was closed. Nobody else could answer, but here I am at my daughter's band concert. Answer the phone. She's like, "Oh my God, are you busy?" I'm like, "I'm at a band concert, but how can I help you?"
Right.
It's just kind of like one of those situations where being available can definitely make or break something.
Correct.
I've had it to where a deal is being written up at night.
Yeah.
And they need to speak to somebody. And I answer the phone. With my kids are in the background, but I'm on the phone.
Correct.
It's not like you're getting my voicemail and I'm too busy. But in retrospect, I've been on the other side in the bank. It's kind of hard for you to be obligated to your computer from 8:30 a.m. to 5 nonstop, just like a normal 9-to-5 job, right? And then still be available in the evenings. It's very hard to do.
Correct.
That means you have no life. It's not like the bank is giving you like 3-4 hours off during the day so you can work later on in the evening. They don't roll like that.
Yeah, it's flexibility. It's not. I mean, again, it's the flexibility is just not there. I mean, the flexibility for us. I mean, I can, I'm able to do things, as far as take my kids here, go to doctor appointments. Like I don't have to call and tell somebody, hey, I got to do this. Like I can, I know what I need to do for that day work wise, and I just got to make sure that I have a lot enough time to get it done.
Correct.
So I mean, it's. I kind of make your own schedule. There's a lot more flexibility when it comes to it. Now, another thing I will say, because we're giving obviously both sides pros and cons. Another thing about banks that they can potentially do is called portfolio and loans, right? So when you portfolio a loan, like I mentioned before, everyone lends based on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac when it comes to your traditional, mortgage, right? Those are the guidelines. Those are the investors that are backing the loan. So if they're going to be the ones that are investing in it, we're going to have to meet what they say their criteria is. But with the bank, being that they have access to more funds because they are a bank, because they have all these other different avenues of finance going on, they're able to do what's called portfolio in a loan where they don't have to abide by what Fannie and Freddie Mac guidelines are on some loans. And these are, like I said, it's not all the time, but on some loans, they'll just kind of look at the overall picture. And if there's enough compensating factors for that particular buyer, they will be able to keep that loan and keep it in-house. They call it portfolio in a loan.
Instead of selling it off.
Instead of selling off, yeah. So as a mortgage company, most mortgage companies, we have to base everything off of what Fannie and Freddie says, right? But a bank in particular can, and I've seen it, sometimes like on your bigger purchases, on your $1 million jumbo purchases where, the jumbo, down payment amount is 20%. But a portfolio, a bank may say, hey, you could put down 15 or even 10%, because as long as you have a 740 credit score and have X amount of dollars in reserves, right? So they'll look at it and say, hey, we know you're a good buyer. Sometimes what Fannie and Freddie has carved out for their guidelines, your situation may not fit into that. So we'll work with you when it comes to that, situation, right? So that's something that I will say that banks can do that mortgage companies, they just can't do because they don't have the ability to do that as far as financially.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. And a portfolio loan is basically a lending product set by the bank. That's their particular product. It's not offered by another lender.
Correct.
It's their product.
Yeah, it's not your standard FHA, VA, conventional USDA. All those loans that we've talked about, that's what everyone does. But they'll be able to create, a bank may say, hey, you can do this loan. I
have a product called ABC loan.
And typically it's like, hey, you got to have X amount of this. Like the standard of it is higher than your basic standards for your loans across the board. And so they'll allow financing for those types of loans.
Correct.
Typically you're going to pay probably a little bit higher interest rate on it, right? Yep. There's going to be things that you're paying for being able to do that loan, but it is allowing you to obtain financing, which is ultimately the goal.
The goal, yes, exactly. Yeah. Now, another big thing that we see here in Hampton Roads, I can't really speak for all other parts of the country, but here in Hampton Roads, we have a forever overturn of purchasing and selling, right?
Yeah. Real transit area. Yeah.
And so a lot of the agents here locally, they know that it's very hard to get in contact with your big banks because they know how it works, right? They tend to like to work with local lenders, which is Atlantic Bay is a local lender. And it's because of the flexibility that we have and because we have a large variety of products as well. So, if, let's say, there's a seller that's selling their house and you offer them, you give them a pre-approval letter and it has Big Bank on there, they may simply decline your offer compared to someone else just because of Big Bank's name. And so sometimes it's better to just look at your options and maybe go with the mortgage company because they know that we're going to get the deal done.
Yeah. And typically, like I said, just from their perspective, I'm sorry, I may cut you off. What are you about to say?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, from their perspective, they know that if you're dealing with a mortgage company, that in most cases, mortgage companies have upfront underwriting.
Correct.
So that means there's the due diligence part of pre-approving that prospective buyer that's buying that seller's house has been done already,
Correct.
right? Versus a bank, a lot of times, as Sophia just mentioned, they're just, you're almost like an order taker, right? Yep. So you're not really doing the proper due diligence up front to ensure that if this person says they make X amount of dollars, that's actually what it is, right? They may not collect their person's pay stubs up front. They may just run a credit and say, hey, okay, their credit looks good. We'll pre-approve them for whatever you want to put down.
It may be a system approval where, now, in my experience, a lot of people, 90% always overestimate their income.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so what happens is the system thinks that you put in the correct information, and so it spits out a pre-approval letter. Like, oh, okay, you make $6,000 a month, but not knowing that you just started that job a month ago and you're including overtime,
Yep.
Things that the system can't recognize. And so it puts a bad taste in a real estate agent's mouth when they got this pre-approval letter. It's not true. It's not something that someone has reviewed. And so that's one thing that we as mortgage bankers at a mortgage company do is we look at that stuff up front. We make sure that income is as accurate as possible.
Correct.
Before issuing a pre-approval letter.
Correct. And that means a lot. I mean, that's why, as Sophia mentioned, I mean, the letter, who it comes from, it weighs a lot on if your offer will be accepted because of, they know that, hey, the proper due diligence was done up front.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So I hope that we gave you guys a good understanding of the difference between big bank and mortgage company. Didn't want to bash, but just kind of wanted to give you our opinion on what we see every day. I mean, this is something that happens every day for us. This is,
correct.
When we get offers, this person is looking at different people. They're looking at different companies. We see when the offers decline. I've had agents reach out to me and say, hey, my buyer needs to switch lenders in order to get the deal. And we're like rushing and scrambling, trying to get things done. So sometimes it's kind of better if you kind of know a little bit of this information up front, so it can help you make a better decision as to what you're looking to do.
100%.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, so earlier in the segment, we asked a question. It was the exercise your knowledge question of the day. So during that segment, we asked you a mortgage-related question for you to go ahead and think about the answer, and then we're going to reveal it now and see if you were right. So today's exercise your knowledge question was, when is the best time to shop rates? So that kind of falls into line as to what we were just talking about. So drum roll.
All right. The answer is before you put an offer on a home.
Yes.
So I would say, once you're getting a pre-approval letter, and then once you're actually, because not typically, all the time, if you're putting an offer on a home, the agent is going to need a pre-approval letter to accompany that offer. Because again, that shows the seller that you've spoken to someone about your finances and that you do qualify for the home that you're trying to purchase, right? So at that particular time, once you're at that part, you should already have your mortgage company established on who you're going to go with. A lot of times you'll have buyers who will try to change and try to shop around. We call it shopping after you get under contract. And that's not a good practice because on the contract, it's going to have that mortgage company's information. And if you're looking to try to change that information after you have a binding legal agreement to purchase a home and have the different particulars in there, then that seller has to sign off on it. And if you were to try to change something like that, especially how things are, in most cases, if you're getting a home under contract, there's probably somebody else that likes that home as well. So there's probably multiple offers or at least other interest, right? And so if you're in a situation where your offer has been accepted and then now you're looking to change financing after the offer's been accepted, from the seller's perspective, that doesn't look good. If you're trying to switch mortgage companies, you can let that seller know, like, hey, I found a better interest rate or whatever. But from a seller's perspective, if you're trying to change your financing, your company, after you're under contract, it doesn't look good, and they could actually remove you from being under contract and go with another person's offer. And so all that hard work that was put in to get you under contract just goes away at that time, and you could potentially lose that home. So, we always tell folks to, I wouldn't say we tell them, but we do encourage you to, if you're going to shop around, you need to do that and have that established who you're going with at the time that you're making an offer on a home.
That's correct. Yeah. You definitely don't want to open that contract back. It's crazy. I just recently had this happen. There was 20 offers on this particular property, and my client won. My name was on the contract as the preferred lender. And so after the fact, they wanted to go with a different lender. When they called the listing agent was like, well, we already have multiple backup offers. So if they want to switch lenders, then we're going to just ratify and go with someone else. Because it makes it seem like, and this may not always be the case, but this, you have to think, they don't really know anything, because we don't give them specifics about your income and how great your file is and, what your credit scores are. They don't know that stuff, right? So from their perspective, they're like, okay, well, what happened to financing? Why are you no longer using them? Is something wrong? Did you get denied? And so once that kind of opens up, all those thoughts are going through this seller's head. They're like, oh, well, let's just go with someone else because they were already approved with someone. They might be better to go, ready to go.
Correct.
And so you don't want to ever give that perspective off to that seller, especially when there's 20 offers on the home, because then it opens you up to lose your place in that contract.
Correct.
And it's never a good feeling when you, especially if you have something going on, like you've already sold your last home and you're looking to transition and you got to move across country, because that was the circumstance for my buyer. And so she ended up just staying with us. But that was something that she had told me before, that she was shopping around, which was no problem. But then she tried to switch it after she had went under contract, and it was a no-go. Listing agent was not having it.
Yeah.
And was ready to go on to the next person.
Correct.
For sure. So just know that when you do shop beforehand. Once you ratify, once you get under contract, if that seller is willing to open a contract back up for you, great, but they're not required to.
Correct. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you got coming up next? What's going on? Today I have a closing.
Congrats. I got a closing. I got a refinance closing, which is
today?
Yeah, today.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a unique closing. So I'm excited about that.
So I remember this is the one with the unique situation.
Yeah.
So I remember we actually had to go talk through it.
Yeah, talk through the situation with the gentleman. Yeah, he's out of state, and
we made it work.
Yeah, we made it work. Yeah, he's buying another house, but he needed a refi to kind of free up his VA entitlement. So so that one's closing today. So I'm excited. I mean, he's out in Mississippi, so it'll be a notary closing out there. But you just don't see that many refis anymore. So
No, I just did a refi 2 months ago, end of February. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I got a closing.
Again, we get one.
Yeah. We'll get a couple here and there, man, depending on the circumstances. I got the closing today. I'm gonna see my cousin later, which is good. She's helped her purchase a home recently, so she's back in town now. She was out of the country on deployment for a little over like almost 7 months. So I'm excited to see her and my aunt. They're here. They're gonna stop by, and I'm also gonna help them as well. What else we got going on?
So tomorrow we have the community health fair.
Yep, we got the community health fair.
That's going to be in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, so that should be good.
That's supposed to be a good one, and we're by the DJ booth, so hopefully the DJ is good.
Or if they're not good, we can at least give them some pointers on what songs they need to be playing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that should be a good time. So we got that tomorrow.
We got the appreciation event on Tuesday for the real estate agents that we work with or want to work with.
Yeah.
That's going to be real nice because it's on the beach. I'm excited. I'm almost borderline wanting to go buy something new just for it. Look.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Probably not, but.
yeah. That's definitely going to be.
Because it's on the beach. I mean, it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely it's definitely going to be a good time, man. On Tuesday, it's National Mimosa Day for folks that don't know. And so, we typically do something like once a quarter where we try to just get everyone out of the office, get everybody out of, doing their, showing houses if it's an agent or if it's a mortgage person. We just try to get everyone together to kind of network, have a good, cool time. It's always typically surrounded by sloppy drinks.
Yep.
We like to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, on Tuesday is National Mimosa Day.
Except for I don't drink mimosas. But
mimosas, okay. Yeah.
They have other liquor.
Yeah. yeah. So we'll be having a good time. I'm looking forward to that on Tuesday. And then for me, that's like a precursor to Wednesday. Brooke and I'm going on vacation. Yeah, we're going to Turks and Caicos, man. So nice. I'm excited about that. That'll be we typically go somewhere like once a year. We'll try to go somewhere tropical, man. And so we're it's kind of like a real anniversary gift for us is to go out there. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time. No kids. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Definitely looking forward. I've never been to Turks and Caicos. I've heard it's like it's on Grace Bay Beach, which they say is one of the top beaches in the world. They say nice. It's beautiful. Yeah. And they said it's like one of your safer places to go to as well, as far as because I like to normally go off the beaten path and kind of really explore and see what that particular country or area has to offer. So they're like, this area is not like you got to worry about somebody trying to rob you and steal nothing from you. Like they're very laid back folks. The locals are. So I'm looking forward to
did that in the Bahamas.
Okay.
Shouldn't have, but I did.
He said shouldn't have.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I definitely, I would not tell my kids to do it, but most definitely. So it was a girls' trip. It was me and 4 of the girls. We actually went on a cruise. This is how it started. We started off on a cruise, but our ship stayed the night in the Bahamas. So basically, we got off the ship and we could be out all night doing whatever. And then the next morning is when we had to be back to the ship. I think it was by like 6 a.m. for us to go underway at 8. And so we were out partying. We ended up getting a cab. The driver, it wasn't a cab. I don't know what they call it there, but it wasn't a taxi cab. It was like a car service, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. And the guy ended up being like this younger black guy. He seemed like he was cool. So we went. We were like, we want to go like to the real part. Like we don't want to stay on the resort. So we went all these different places. And so they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. And we were like, we didn't even think about it. Yeah. Like it was just kind of like we were in the moment. Yeah. We had fun, but it was a good time. It really was. That's we cool. had a real nice time in that particular part of the Bahamas. And I ended up going back to another part of the Bahamas that was even better. Okay. And we did the same thing.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah. But enjoy your trip. Tonight I'll be at volleyball tournaments all night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might as well just, live there.
I see.
For the most part. So I'll be there tonight. We have a game at 6 and at 8. So we'll be there probably around 5:30 up until like 9 something. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's like my life now. Volleyball.
I heard that.
I told my daughter I was gonna try to help her get stronger. So now I got to start training her.
Okay. That's good.
That's gonna be something different. All right. Well, we've talked about using us, a mortgage banker, at a mortgage company. Mm-hmm. We talked about when to shop rates. And so now, we like to leave you guys with the quote of the day. So I'll let you go ahead and say the quote of the day.
All right, cool. Well, the quote of the day is, you are smarter than you think and more brave than you know. Keep your face to the sunshine. You cannot see a shadow. I like that. It kind of rhymed. That rhymed too?
Yeah.
It is a little, okay.
Keep your face to the sunshine, and you cannot see a shadow.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah. So obviously, that just means continue to move forward, push forward. It's good sometimes to look back and see, how far you've come along, but you always want to kind of push forward and not look backwards in your journey and whatever your endeavors you got going on. So definitely, that's definitely a good quote. Amen. Sermon.
Right. That's what you want right
now. Yep.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Please follow us on Facebook and IG. My Facebook and IG is SKB_mortgage.
And mine is Bryan, BRYAN _Royster, ROYSTER.
All right. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.